All right, can everybody hear me? Okay, looks like the clock has just turned to 7 o'clock. We are live on our YouTube channel, channelclintonville.com, and we'll go ahead and get started, and I'll monitor the waiting room to ensure that folks are being let in as they arrive. Okay, welcome to the February 4th Clintonville Area Commission meeting, where we are committed to the undertaking of the preservation of the values of the community through promotion, implementation, and recommendation to city officials. The CAC was empowered in 1974 by the Columbus City Charter to represent the Clintonville community in the discussion of community concerns. By city code, the purpose of the CAC is to afford additional voluntary citizen participation in the decision-making in an advisory capacity, and to facilitate communications, understanding, and cooperation between the neighborhood groups, city officials, and developers. And we'll go ahead and get started with District 1. Please, Commissioner Rotero, allow us time to hear an update.
Thanks. It's been pretty quiet in District 1. We did have, after the snowfall though, I think we had probably the best street plowing that we've ever experienced in my history in Clintonville. So that was encouraging that the snow warriors were up and actually took care of some of the side streets for us. There's still some snow on the ground, but we were happy to have some street clearing going on. That was a good sign, encouraging, but very quiet in District 1.
Yeah, I think I share that sentiment, David. I think they did a great job. District 2.
I don't see Brian on here, is he?
No, he's not on here yet. Okay, we'll circle back. District 3.
Hi there, it's Libby Weatherholt from District 3. I also want to compliment our snow warriors, particularly on Brynhild, the large hill that goes down into Walhalla Ravine. It had a water leak, a water main break. Well, maybe not a main, but a water line break that created quite a icy patch all the way down the hill, particularly on some of these days. And it took them about 2 weeks to repair the main, but in between those 2 weeks, the snow warriors were excellent on treating it with ice because it created so much, or treating it with salt because it created so much ice. So I do want to compliment them. And as far as I know right now, the water leak has been fixed. I think, I haven't been up there for about a week, but I think there's still probably a steel plate over the street. And it was our beautiful new resurfaced street, and of course it had to have a leak, but they are doing a great job. The other thing is that I heard from one of my constituents that in regard to the Olentangy Bikeway, that when the Broad Meadows Bridge across the river was proposed, someone suggested that some historical bridges be used instead of building an entire new bridge. And so moving historical bridges from someplace to the spots where we need, for walking and mobility areas. And as far as the constituent knows, this was never done, but it might be a way to maybe not minimize, but reduce the cost of a bridge across the river. And so that was just a suggestion that from someone who had the kind of institutional remembrance that we all need at some points. That's all I've have to report.
That's a really interesting idea. I'm glad you shared that. All right, District 4.
Hi, everybody. It's nice to be home on this snowy, slippery evening. Nothing really happening in District 4. I noticed that there was some discussion, and I didn't chime in on this on Facebook, people kind of gossiping about what would take over the TJ site, and some folks speaking like with authority that it would be a Chick-fil-A. But when I checked the auditor's site, that had sold on January 20th to Shriners Children's Hospital. And I'm wondering if you heard anything about it, BJ, or if Jim heard anything, if they put out a press release. And they would have purchased the TJ site and that Christmas tree lot that's right next door to it.
So I'm picking up on bits and pieces of information, and that struck me as curious too, because I did beeline to the auditor's site. And when I went back to look at the transfer history, it's actually been in title to Shriners Hospital for 15 years. There's just different administrators, almost as if it's in a REIT, like a real estate investment trust, where they're a shareholder of that property. I'm only speculating. That's just my guesstimate. But I'm going to defer that later on to Commissioner Garrison, who might have a little bit more sophisticated of an answer, because we were discussing that earlier today. So
it's going to be part of my district update.
Oh, okay. The rumors
good.
about Chick-fil-A have been going on for like 6 months. So
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. And I think there was a press release put out by TJ's that they would be closing in May. So we know that for a fact.
you're right.
Then on the whole fast food thread, I'm still getting complaints about Starbucks. And I've called a few times. Their little revised plan of having people in the parking lot, they say that they're doing that between 11 and 3 every day, but it's pretty rare. And I have new photographs that I've taken or been sent by other people, same old blocking the intersection thing. I emailed Catherine a photograph of a sign I saw on the east side of Columbus saying that the fine for blocking an intersection is something like $150. I think if a sign like that was posted at that intersection, maybe the blocking would stop and there'd be a little bit of a wake-up call. So that's my feedback, and nothing else much happening in District 4. Thank you.
All good information. We'll need to follow up with Catherine on that. Let's see. It looks like Commissioner Bolton's trying to work his way in.
I'm here.
Or there. Oh, there you are. There you are. Sorry, your glasses throw me off.
You know, all this blue light activity on, I appreciate the Zoom and not being in the ice as well, but the blue lights have really impacted my head. So I've been trying to wear them. So I can. Anyway, so District 5, I started a newsletter, an e-newsletter last month. So hope, just feel free to send folks my way, just sharing commission updates electronically in addition to the social media and things like that. But then I also had my community hours on the 16th. A handful of neighbors attended. It was really nice to chat with folks. They're excited about the Olentangy Trail connector. And another item that came up was the crosswalk over at Acton and High, just, over in front of Whetstone Library and Community Center. A couple concerns about just folks speeding through and turning without checking for pedestrian traffic. So I'm not sure if there's more that can be done there. I know we've already got the nice brick walkways and the crosswalk pedestrian lighting there. So I don't know if there's much more that we can do, but I think it's worth just, noting publicly that we should all be really careful about kids running around and walking in that area. That's about all that's going on over here in Central Clintonville.
Well, thank you for holding your community office hours, and it's exciting to hear about your e-newsletter. I'll be curious to know how that's received. So do report back.
Thanks. I can add you to the list if you would like the updates.
Please,
Thanks.
please. Just so long as it's not copyrighted so I can rip it off. I mean,
Go for it.
all right. Let's go ahead and go to District 6. Oh, that's right. Sorry. Commissioner Carpenter did email me earlier stating that she was on her way home from Cleveland and traffic was moving on the interstate at about 20 miles an hour. So she may pop in late, but we shall consider her absence excused if she does not chime in. Let's go ahead and move on to Commissioner Wyman, District 7.
I don't have anything to report, thanks.
All right. District 8, Commissioner Garrison.
Hello. Not a lot to report in terms of the local day-to-day. There was an interesting thing that came up actually just today, and you've all experienced porch pirates or constituents that are getting things pulled off their porches. This was the first instance of someone in the neighborhood having something delivered that looks as though it was opened prior to the delivery. So it was something from FedEx. It was I think a phone, and whoever was in the logistical path identified that there was something possibly inside that was valuable. They opened it up, took the phone out, and then resealed it, and it continued on its way to the person. So they now have to work with their phone service provider and FedEx to try to get that figured out. Apparently it's not unheard of, and it happens occasionally. On another topic, there was something carried over from last month, and I apologize, I did not follow up on it fully because I wasn't able to set aside the time, but there was a follow-up with rain gardens and in Morse Blueprint area, and the fixes for residents. Blueprint gave the option for some residents to opt in to a fix at the rain garden that might be affecting their property in the front, and filling in the central third or so of the rain garden so that people could, in theory, park in front of it, get out and use the space to kind of increase safety and other items. I had a follow-up conversation with Leslie and Blueprint, and they basically have confirmed that they're not necessarily just done, but the options for any kind of ongoing fixes to the neighborhood and relative to the rain gardens is limited. And the Blueprint has done as much as they feel is appropriate at this point. And that's not to say there aren't any options, but it would require additional effort on the residents and my part to get things changed or affected going forward. So that was that. The last bit of thing was the last element is TJ's, what Judy had brought up. And so I think there was an article in the Dispatch as well as Biz Journal about TJ's leaving in May. And part of it was part of the transfer stories about TJ's being told that they couldn't renew their lease and a lot of other things. So to dispel some of the myths and to confirm some other rumors, Chick-fil-A, or at least someone calling themselves Chick-fil-A, did apply for a site compliance review with the City of Columbus on Friday, the 29th. So that is due to be reviewed by all the departments and meeting virtually at the end of this month. I will be taking part in that as much as I can, as much as I'm allowed. I've had conversations with the zoning department and some of the people at the City of Columbus relative to people's concerns about the sign and the sign being historic or being landmark or anything else. Well, unfortunately, the sign, there is no national, state, or local landmark status or historic preservation status with the sign. But speaking with John DeForney, who was involved in the sale of Jerry's Drive-In back in the 50s or 60s when it was in existence, to Wendy's when they had it as a sisters prior to TJ's. the discussions have been that the sign presence was a condition of the transfer of the property in terms of, I think, the building. Unfortunately, though, there's no real record of any of this at the moment. And of course, I'm starting to just get into it, so I'm sure I'll uncover things. And I've also been working with some of, I think, a journalist who is looking for the same answers. So I'll update people as I find more. I'll definitely have probably a pretty big update in March for that meeting. That's kind of as much as I want to share at the moment. But I will say that nothing's set in stone. This is kind of a preliminary review process. And if there's something to be done, there will be, I'm sure. The community really likes the sign, and it's very iconic. If this meeting does get in the hands of the applicants, one of the things that I would offer as part of this discussion on the sign is that it's been a non-conforming sign for many decades. So to come in and take the sign down and then put in a different sign that may or may not be approved would be kind of an uphill battle. So it is in whoever owns the property's best interest to keep the sign because of the fact that it has so many benefits going with it in terms of a large non-conforming sign. It's a very valuable element to that property. So with that, I'll end my update, but essentially having a great non-conforming sign is somewhat to the site's benefit, and I'm hoping that it will continue for decades in the future.
Mhm.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner Garrison. We'll go ahead and circle back to Commissioner Pfeiffer. Welcome.
Hey, BJ, sorry I was running late. I'm in a different room in the house tonight because I got my second COVID vaccine. And so I've been having a little bit of chills. And so tried to go upstairs where it's a lot warmer. For updates in District 2, the biggest update, and BJ and I met with pretty much all of the homeowners along alternative number 5 from the Olentangy Trail update. And so all of the homeowners, I've pretty much gotten an email that there is no interest in selling their properties or having the trail go through their properties. And they would, they're very opposed to it, and some of them have talked about having lawyers. And so I know they were very vocal about that on the meeting. They've shared their concerns with me. I've got that in email as well. And then I know at the meeting too, for the public, there was a lot of people who said no, and just other people in District 2. I've heard at least the strongest opposition to alternative number 5. So thought I would share that with the group and let people know where District 2 stands on at least some of the options available for the Olentangy Trail. And then the only other thing I'll add, I know there's discussion about the plowing of the Olentangy Trail and how it occurs and when it occurs. And so it's super helpful getting that information. And then my house backs up to the Olentangy Trail. And so a lot of mornings, 6, 7 a.m., that trail is plowed. So they definitely are pretty good warriors in terms of getting the trail plowed and making it available for the public.
All right, well, does that conclude your district report?
That does.
Thank you so much. Meeting with those constituents of Commissioner Pfeiffer's, actually, it was the first time in almost a year since Brian's been a commissioner that we were able to meet one another in person. It's just so bizarre that, we're co-commissioners and we hadn't had the opportunity to meet in person because of the whole COVID thing. So we finally got to meet one another while we were meeting them. So I thought that was kind of neat. As for a district update for District 9, we do have, we've experienced great snow plowing. Again, I give much gratitude to the city for doing an exemplary job. And I did share with everybody the snow plowing from Metro Parks on the Olentangy Trail, which was kind of an aha. I didn't realize that they treated the Olentangy Trail with equitable priority that they would a roadway to a park. So I was enlightened, and so I just thought that was a pretty neat aha moment, and I was glad to get that update and share with you all. So far as the TJs, I will just cautiously share that I've observed TJ's Chick-fil-A restaurants around the city. I drive by the one on Sawmill Road quite often. I've driven by the one near East Broad Street. And I've driven by the one in Grandview. And more often than not, it seems as though their line is chronic, which is why they have the protocol of sending an order receiver out in the drive-through lane, which is why Starbucks seemingly wanted to borrow that concept. You know, I'll say that being located on Morrison High, I can very easily see them putting a sign out on 71, drawing traffic in from the interstate to visit their restaurant. And that's going to, if it is in fact a Chick-fil-A, that will attract a lot of interstate traffic off of the Morse Road exit. It will increase draw on Morse Road. And it will pique my curiosity to see the footprint of the restaurant, because undoubtedly they'll need to demo the old building and put up a new one. And it'd be really interesting to see how they're going to design their parking lot to accommodate a drive-through with ingress from Morse Road and from High Street. So I see many challenges for a Chick-fil-A, as popular of a restaurant as it is in other areas of our city, to see how they're going to execute that. To me, I'm just going to wait and see, but I can already say, you know, we've got Raising Cane's up here north of Morris on High Street. We've got Hot Chicken Takeover. You know, I just don't know how many chicken restaurants the Clintonville community is going to be able to support. And I would hate to see a national franchise put a small mom and pop owned restaurant like Hot Chicken Takeover out of business. So I'm just going to wait and see, and I'll hold back my opinion until I know more. Other than that, everything's good in District 9, and very happy to be with you all this evening. Just to reiterate, Commissioner Carpenter's on her way back from Cleveland. She was crawling in traffic. She may pop in a little bit late, so we'll just give her a little bit of leeway to do that. If she doesn't show, we'll consider it an excused absence. She did not offer a treasurer's report in lieu of her absence, so we'll get caught up with that in March. We'll go ahead and hand this over to Commissioner Bolton for consideration of prior meeting minutes.
On January 27th, I sent out a PDF copy of our January 2021 draft minutes. I received edits from Commissioner Leatherholt. Again, thank you for being the closest reader of the minutes. I appreciate it very much. And unless anyone else has edits this evening, Chair White, may I please ask for a motion that the minutes be approved?
Okay, so moved.
Second.
All right.
Thank you.
Everyone in favor of approving the minutes as presented in the emailed PDF version that you all received prior to the meeting, say aye.
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 Aye. Anyone opposed? Okay, then the meeting minutes from January CAC meeting shall be considered approved. Thank you, Commissioner Bolton.
Tonight's agenda also has 2020 on it, just to FYI.
Thank you. I just updated it in the minutes. Thank you.
Great. I did that several different times when I was secretary, so.
Oh boy, sorry about that. Thank you, Libby. Appreciate you. All right, let's see. We will go ahead and leapfrog over the treasurer's report, and we'll look forward to getting caught up from Commissioner Carpenter in March. Tony Celebrezzi is here. He's the Assistant Director of the City of Columbus Department of Building and Zoning Services, and I'd like to officially welcome him. He's got an update for us. Welcome.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I appreciate the opportunity, and thank you to the members for giving me your ear for a few minutes to talk about the city's zoning code update. If you don't mind, Madam Chair, I'm going to share my screen and I have a few slides to share with folks.
And you're ready to share.
All right. Always fun trying to hit all the right buttons. So, all right. Now, apparently I made, there we are. Can you all see that, or are you all looking at can you see the zoning code update? Wonderful. Okay. So about a year and a half ago, the mayor came to Department of Development and Building and Zoning Services and asked us to take a look at the zoning code as we continue to see large growth in variances and new trends emerging with how development was happening. Okay. So as many of you all know, since many of you all are veterans of participating in the zoning process, the zoning code is able to help help keep the integrity of neighborhoods, deals with a lot of development standards from building placement, parking requirements, lot size, and other things. It is also able to be used to encourage and facilitate development and investment, which ultimately provides a lot of opportunities to different neighborhoods. Unfortunately, at the same time, over the years and decades, zoning has been used to basically limit access and reduce the ability of neighborhoods to enjoy opportunities. Right now, the city of Columbus has got tremendous development opportunities, but not all neighborhoods are enjoying those opportunities. So we began to put this project together. The current zoning update, or the current zoning code, as you can see, dates to the early 50s. The development patterns in the early 50s, much different than they are today, different ideas, different concepts. So just a little bit of background with a couple of charts here real quick. As you can see on the left-hand side, in the 50s, 60s, and even 70s, many of you all know, Columbus had a very aggressive annexation. We went from essentially 40 square miles to almost 200 square miles at the time. That kind of began to fall off in the 80s and 90s for a number of different reasons. But at the same time, our population has continued to grow. We are on pace to be over 1 million people by the end of this decade. We're already over 900,000 people just living in the city of Columbus, let alone Central Ohio continues to see growth. So one of the things that we are having to look at is how do we encourage more infill, more redevelopment within our borders as opposed to territorial expansion. There's a lot of desire for transportation options, walkable neighborhoods, and multifamily, smaller homes and smaller lots. And that's a real, an influence of the younger generations choosing these types of walkable neighborhoods, multifamily and smaller houses than in previous generations. As I said before, not all neighborhoods have prospered under the current zoning code, and that's something that we need to change. So we've kind of been we've got this set of questions here that we've been putting forth. How will Columbus grow? Where are people going to live, work, recreate? How are they going to get around? And what are our neighborhoods ultimately going to look like? And then in that overarching, how do we build opportunities for residents? How do we encourage commercial development? How do we ensure that people want to continue to move to Columbus? There's a number of projects underway, like Linkus and the regional housing strategy. Layered on top of that is the mayor's commitment to sustainability. And so our challenge, my challenge with Kevin Wheeler, who is in Department of Development, we're the two leads on this, is how do we position the zoning code so that the development that is going on today, what communities want to see, is what that code enforces, and then how does that code continue to grow and work in the future. So I've kind of talked a little bit about some of these areas of consideration. One of the biggest things is zoning for these job centers and moving away from variances. We hear about all these mixed use developments, we don't have a zoning code that is mixed use. All of those developments that are these mixed use developments have to be done by variance, which tells us that there's something wrong with our code, that we need to look at it. We need to figure out why, how we make the code responsive to the development patterns that we're seeing. On top of that, there's a lot of overlays and special districts that make the zoning code itself very tough for anybody to understand. There is not a lot of clarity in our zoning code. The average person has difficult going in there and doing something, and that's something that we need to figure out how to make the zoning code clear. How do we make it more predictable, more consistent, and make sure that we still have the voices of people in the neighborhoods, be able to hear those voices of neighborhoods for opposition or support of different projects that may be going in. So, we've got all these areas of consideration. We've got to ensure that the project is done in a fashion that is going to end up with a result that people can live with. The project itself is broken up into two phases. Phase one, which we began in late November, we brought on a consultant, Lisa Wise Consulting Group. A number of them have done, not only have they done zoning code rewrites in larger cities, the consulting firm itself has helped rewrite things. They also were involved with Westerville when Westerville did zoning update to their main commercial thoroughfare through the middle of town. So phase one is a technical review of the code. We've conducted close to 90 individual interviews with leaders, elected leaders, community leaders, builders, area commissioners throughout the city. Kevin and I continue to have other interviews with people that want to talk to us or want to meet with us. We've met with a number of zoning committees from different area commissions, and we're more than happy to spend some time with the Clintonville committee that deals with zoning. So phase one is going to look at the code assessment, the review processes, and stakeholder engagement. And ultimately, it's going to come out with a recommended update strategy. It is not going to change the code in phase one. It is just what do we think is not working, and what kind of strategy are we going to use to move forward. We're looking for this phase one to be completed this summer, and at that point, we will go into phase two, which will be the actual code update. How are we going to change the language? What are we going to do to make it better? We're looking at phase two being between 18 and 24 months. Y'all probably be seeing myself and Kevin back multiple times, bringing ideas, concepts, thoughts, and back to you all to get feedback. And so during that 18, 24 months in phase two, there's going to be a tremendous amount of stakeholder engagement, taking more thoughts, bringing them back, trying to digest them, and going back out. And ultimately, phase two will result, at the end of that, will result in an adjusted and updated zoning code that hopefully will serve the city well going forward. The other piece, Madam Chair, did you get the email with the survey link and the webpage?
Yes, sir, I did, and I included that on the agenda.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that. And to everybody, feel free to share that with anybody and everybody. That's been live since Monday of last week, and we're up to about 1,200 responses already. I'd like to see us at 4,000 by the end of the month. And there's a lot of areas where there's plenty of space for people to put their opinions, their thoughts, and write them out. With that, I don't have any more other than to say many of you know how to get a hold of me. Feel free to email me or call me. I've noticed that a lot of times people, once they sleep on what I've said, have a lot more questions the following day. I'm always here to listen and to try to answer the questions and at least get you the information that you're asking for. So with that, Madam Chair, I appreciate the time, and members, I appreciate the time. And if you want me to take some questions, I'll be happy to do that.
Sure, sure. I've actually got a question, and I didn't see specifics, but I realize that this is probably a general overview. But within the zoning code, um, would there be any, I've heard, it seems like if there are no variances being asked for a property, then there's always a parking variance being asked. Um, would parking be changed with this code, parking requirements?
I suspect so. One of the leading variances, as you just pointed out, is the parking requirement. And one thing I'd point out is, we've got almost two cities in one. You've got the pre-1950s that was developed without a lot of car thought. It was more walkable. People didn't travel that far, to the post-50s when we started annexing, and it's more of a suburban style development. And so that's going to be one of our challenges: is how do we balance that, and how do we figure that out? So I don't have a specific answer, but that is definitely something that we have to look at to figure out what can be done to make that little more predictable and but still take into consideration essentially the two areas of town.
Okay, thank you.
I-
Commissioner Weatherholt?
Yeah. Hi, Tony. Good to see
Hey,
you.
Libby.
I have done the zoning update survey, and I didn't feel like I had shared very much, but one thing that comes to mind a lot, and partly because of where Clintonville might get at some point, and having grown up in Bexley, and we have the Giant Eagle 2-story supermarket there, and then what's going on is it Whittier Street with the Giant Eagle that's being raised?
The Pizzuti project there.
Why can't we encourage some of the mixed use to be supermarkets inside a building? I've been in one in Washington, D.C. that was a 2-story, very similar, probably bigger than the Giant Eagle is. And when you get to places like downtown, maybe where Clintonville's going, Bexley, we can't continue having food deserts like we have in some neighborhoods. So many neighborhoods have food deserts, particularly east of 71. I'm thinking of in Linden and North Linden, and if we could have mixed use developments that include a 1 or 2 story. I mean, why can't a 1-story supermarket go in something like an office building? I mean, that would just be a perfect spot for maybe not even a smaller supermarket, just a supermarket, certainly the size of what we have at North Broadway and High with the Kroger. And I don't understand why we aren't pushing more for that.
Well, I agree with you. I lived for about 10 years down by the Whittier Giant Eagle, and I always wondered why you can't make it a 2-story and be given, especially the constraints of the land there. To some degree, it's what the developers want. However, as far as getting them to encourage that, that's something that we could look at, and we need to kind of vet through and see if there's practical reasons. I'm sure that the state building code does not prohibit that. Having worked with our building official quite a bit here, so I can I'll make sure I take that to us.
Yeah, I mean, I enjoy the Giant Eagle in Bexley quite a bit, and they also have their own little restaurant there too, which is very nice.
Yep.
And it certainly could be a new form of grocery shopping.
Definitely.
Thanks.
I have a question, Tony. With the impending zoning changes forthcoming, would Clintonville is actually the only neighborhood, the only area within the city of Columbus along the 23 High Street corridor that does not have an architectural review. Would now be a timely opportunity to consider an additional layer for an architectural review along the High Street corridor?
That's something we can look at. Obviously, architectural review takes significant staffing levels. I know that something like 80% of our division of planning, I don't know if it's close to 80, but it's more than 3/4 of their staff, their time is dedicated to architectural review, which only covers about less than 10% of the city. And so, that's a secondary consideration is what kind of staffing levels and costs do we incur as a city to do more architectural review. And I mean, technically there is the section in code that does allow you to how to petition for that. Obviously right now planning is like I said, is understaffed, and they don't feel they can take on more at this point, but I know that architectural reviews will be talked about. And, if that's something folks want to see, make sure that they put that in the survey so that we can make sure that continues to be a point debated by the team. And then obviously, it'll be coming back out as we do stakeholder engagement.
Thank you.
BJ?
Yes, Commissioner Botero.
Yeah, Tony, thanks very much for the presentation tonight. I'm glad that this is finally happening. I'm happy to hear that the survey is out. I think that's great. I encourage everybody to complete one of the surveys. I'm glad that you're doing the stakeholder interviews. You and Kevin, I think that's a good idea. I'm not sure that you've talked to anybody with the Clintonville Area Commission or our planning chair yet. Maybe you can tell me if you have or not, but I guess one of my questions for you is where are the stakes and how do we become stakeholders? I certainly would like to have a chance to discuss some things, and I think some of the other members of the commission would too. What do we need to do to become stakeholders?
Well, you're on the meeting tonight, so you're definitely a stakeholder, David. But no, and as I said in my presentation, I just was with Southside this afternoon. Their zoning committee had a meeting that had both Kevin and I with them for more than an hour. So if you all would like me and Kevin to attend and a meeting with your zoning committee or the whole commission, that's y'all's call. But we'd be more than happy to spend some time with you. And trust me, you're going to be seeing our face a lot more as we continue to go down this path, because basically we've got to bring ideas to you all and get feedback on them.
Yeah.
So because you all have the filter of your local area better than any of us do.
Right. Are you considering using any of these as form-based codes, or is that in the mix?
I think form-based is under consideration. A strict form-based probably not going to happen. That's a little bit too much, I think, for what folks might be willing to accept. But we have to look at form-based. I mean, we use it downtown, and it looks like might be using it in East Franklinton. So there is going to be a level of that, and yeah. I do know that the consultants have experience with form-based codes also.
Yeah, I mean, there's cities. I think you're using the term strict form-based codes, but there's other cities here in Ohio, Cincinnati. There's some good form-based codes over in Pittsburgh that are being used. Some of those are overlays, only affect certain areas of the city. I think Cincinnati has some limited areas, but I think it works very well down in Cincinnati. I think parts of Columbus might work very well to that. I do want to go on record. We as a commission have asked the city to look into the process of establishing architectural review for the commercial corridor here in Clintonville. And that really, I don't even really think we've ever gotten the favor of a reply to that request from the city. We've met a few times with the city and tried to reiterate that, but As BJ pointed out, you know, on the High Street corridor, ours is the only section of Columbus, save for a small stretch down on the far south side that doesn't have some form. Oh, I'm sorry. There's one other section of 23, which is the small Riverly. I think the village of Riverly doesn't have architectural review on the 400 feet or so of High Street up just south of Worthington. But other than that, there's architectural review throughout the corridor, and we don't have that. And to your point, I think to some extent, Columbus does feel like a city that's a couple different cities. And I would compare it maybe that there's some neighborhoods that feel like haves and some neighborhoods that feel like have-nots.
Mhm.
And architectural review is largely a defining characteristic of that. And for a city that's making, I think, a very visible point of saying, if it's not for all of us, then it's not for us. I think that's a problem. I think people should largely feel like they have as much of a say in what their neighborhood's going to feel like. And I think maybe this Chick-fil-A is a great example of that. You know, if Commissioner Garrison is successful, I think maybe we can get across to the developer that neighborhood sign is an important landmark, and we'd like to see it incorporated into their project somehow. And I think if we work really hard, maybe we can get that neat sign kept. But that's about the extent of the input that we're going to have on that redevelopment. And I can't imagine something similar happening in the Short North or in Victorian Village or in Italian Village, you know, on such a major intersection in a neighborhood. You know, Morse Road and High Street's kind of a big deal here, you know, so we'd like to have as robust a conversation about what our neighborhood looks like and will feel like as other neighborhoods get to have. And, you know, I'm awfully glad that this process has started. I'm very excited about it. It can't happen soon enough.
Mhm. And I'd like to
I
add
will tell you this,
West
David.
North Broadway and High, we have no input either.
David, I can tell you, you're not alone. There are a number of area commissions that feel like they're not part of the discussion, and that's the challenge that Kevin and I need to meet, is to make sure that we're engaging all the folks in area commissions, to make sure that we're getting input. You know, they always say that a good compromise, because there's going to be different opinions here, is that nobody's happy, or everybody's a little unhappy. And that's our challenge, is how do we figure out, how does your commercial corridor be successful? How does gateways to your neighborhood, like a Morse and High, keep the integrity and keep the attributes and the characteristics that make Clintonville, Clintonville? You know, how do we do that for other areas too? How do we look at Milo Grogan? How do we look at far south, far east, all of these? You know, the great challenge is going to be the far west, which they've got. It seems like every 500 feet it goes into a township on West Broad Street, and so yeah, there's a lot of hurdles that we need to get over, and the best way we're going to do it is to make sure we engage you all, and make sure we engage the public in this, because otherwise, you know, I might as well be whistling Dixie in the wind. So,
thanks very much for your time.
Yeah.
If nothing else, if you could make it an imperative that a developer at least meet with a commission, maybe not require them to get approval. But I mean, we had 160 apartments being built at the west end of Graceland Boulevard, and we were told, well, we really don't have to meet with you. Well, you know, 160 apartments in Clintonville is quite a development, and they should at least get a feel for the community. I mean, this is Casto Development saying to the commission, we aren't required to meet with you. I think if there's going to be anything, and like the Morse Road or like Bank of America at West North Broadway and High, they should at least come to us and say, this is what we're planning. You know, maybe it's not required for them to get approval, but they should at least come to us and say, we are planning to do this.
I understand what you're saying, Libby. I know the projects you're referencing.
Right. Does anybody else have any questions for Tony?
I have one. Oh, if we have,
I'm sorry, I only have eyes on Commissioner Wyman who raised his hand. I apologize. Who was that chimed in?
I was Brittany, but I didn't raise my hand. I'll defer to Commissioner Wyman.
Oh, okay, all right, we'll come around to you, Brittany. Hang in there.
Thanks.
Commissioner Wyman?
Yeah, just real quick, Director, when you're going to be doing your harmonizing, are you going to be looking at the codes in multiple code sections or just looking at the zoning code? For example, the handicap parking, as Commissioner Garrison knows, there's a definition of handicap parking that appears in like 5 different code sections in the city code. And they're all different. And the most comprehensive is under the parking meter section. So is that something you're going to be looking at, is making sure you harmonize across all the code sections?
Obviously, anytime you do a code, an ordinance change to a code, you try to make sure that it's consistent across the board. We are focused on the zoning code. However, we are going to try to make sure that changes we make are consistent with the other portions of the code. I know that some of the handicap parking and ADA things are also contained within the state building code. And we have to, the building side of things have to look at that too. So, we will try, but our task, and I hate to sound like a bureaucrat here, but our task is the zoning code, and that's where we're supposed to be focused and doing our rewrite. And if we start dabbling in other codes, I potentially end up having to make additional, start pulling in different other departments into this mix that is already going to be a challenge enough. But I appreciate that. I was unaware that there was that many differences in that. So I'm going to bring that up and probably talk to our building folks too to see what their discussion is on that.
Yeah, and if I could just, because Commissioner Wyman had mentioned it, the code specifics aside, specific to the zoning code, when we talk about, to your point about parking variances being a biggest thing that people go through with respect to the zoning code and requirements on sites, and we see things where there's 60 parking space variance, decrease or things like that. These are things that directly affect the accessible parking on a site, whereas previously it might be requiring 3 or 4 spaces, and now it's only requiring 1 or 2 after the variance. So having an open mind on accessible parking, perhaps requiring what the number might be prior to the variance rather than post variance, is something to consider in terms of your targeted efforts towards solving some sort of parking solutions.
DJ?
Okay. All right.
DJ?
Yes, Commissioner Minister, I think we were going to circle back to Commissioner Bolton.
Okay, I'll take after Commissioner. Yeah.
All right.
Thanks, Commissioner Minister. Thanks, Chair. Assistant Director Celebrity, thank you for being here. I just wanted to share, I did take the survey and it was really quick and easy. So just like some of my colleagues before me, big plug for everyone to take the time to do it. And there is space at the end to leave open-ended comment as well. So for those who felt that it was quick, there's space to leave as much comment as you would like. And I wanted to revisit the concept of affordability and incentivizing that. I definitely want to take part in any future, Clintonville Area Commission stakeholder meetings that might happen, whether it's with zoning committee or our commission at large. But I also wanted to ask whether I think this is a pretty new group that just came out, the Neighbors for More Neighbors group, kind of the YIMBY group that was announced in the last couple of weeks and got some media coverage. I just wondered whether you had a chance to chat with them yet. And if not, I would just encourage you to chat with some of those folks, since I know it's a lot of development and philanthropic leaders from our city who might be a great resource.
Very familiar with them. We have not had a sit down with them or a Zoom call with them, but I'm sure that we are going to. I know some of the people on that are the leaders in that, and they're not gonna let me get away with not talking to them officially. Also, and thank you for the endorsement of the survey. Also, at the end of the survey, and also on the website for the zoning code update, there is a place that you can add your email address, and we'll be putting out minimally an update once a month of what's going on and what we're doing, probably more than that, but that's another way to keep in touch. And like I said before, always feel free to reach out to me, email or give me a call, and I will do what I can to get the information. So,
Thank you so much.
Commissioner Minister.
Yeah, I just want to also chime in with the architectural review. I am just really concerned about the aesthetics in our neighborhood with some of the things that have recently been built in absence of that review. The Clintonville Area Commission, when it was founded in the 1970s, I mean, a big part of it was just preserving the character of our neighborhood. And I think the catalyst at that time was the destruction of some homes at Fallis Road and High, where the now defunct Bliss College was built. I see that, probably the worst era for redevelopment was the 70s and 80s, but we've had some things just in the last 5 years that I've been on the commission that have been little disasters, like the Verizon box at Broadway and High. That is in an overlay district, yet it has parking out front. What we lost diagonally across the street with the kind of piecemeal development. I mean, it's better than a vacant lot, but it certainly could have been a much better looking project if there had been architectural review. So I would just, if the city needs to hire more people, more planners to review, maybe that's money well spent, because otherwise we're going to have a real piecemeal, mishmashy looking neighborhood. And High Street is our main commercial corridor from Worthington to downtown. Neighborhoods like Worthington have done more with a smaller budget to keep new development, in line with the aesthetics of the neighborhood. Same with New Albany and Old Westerville. I would just like to see things kept to a higher standard in our neighborhood as well. Thank you.
Yeah, I'll piggyback on that by saying even OSU campus has an architectural review, and all they have are fast food joints and bars, and they have an architectural review. So there's definitely something there missing in our community that we need that. It's essential. Anybody else for Tony? Okay, Tony, I thank you so much. It was an honor to have you here with us, and we may have follow-up questions, and I'll just guide them in your direction in an email.
sounds good. Thank you all for giving me some time tonight. Thanks.
All right, drive safely home.
Thank you.
Okay, we will conclude Tony's segment. We are running behind a little bit, but that's okay. We'll get caught up. We'll go ahead and hand this over to Chair Hardwick of our Zoning and Variance Committee.
Thank you. The first comment is in the draft minutes that I sent out to all of you, there is a link to some early draft proposed rules for the committee that I drafted in response to a lot of the concerns that were here. We don't have time to have a full discussion discussion tonight because we're already behind, but if you have comments, I would be grateful if you could send them to me. I think it will require amending the bylaws to make this work, but I just want to put that out there, but I also don't want to open a can of worms when the meeting is already running late, and I think Chair White can give this the time it deserves at a later meeting. On to the variance agenda. We only have one item on it, BZA 2235 at 4216 Indianola. The applicant, which is Staging Spaces, has 3 requests: decrease the minimum driveway width from 20 feet to 12 feet, which is what it is now, decrease the required parking spaces from 12 to 8, and also to reduce the minimum setback from the Indianola right-of-way from 25 to 15 feet. I think the city twisted their arm to make them give up some of the right-of-way so that which affected the numbers. The applicant can explain that when we get there. Some of it was just they wanted, the business is a place that that has that stages homes that are looking for sale to make them look nice for people to buy. Let's see, at the meeting, they said that the city originally said they needed to change the right of way to 20, but because of a change in what they want in terms of the thoroughfare, in order to make it comply with the thoroughfare plan, they want a bigger right of way so that it's 15 feet instead of 20 feet. The applicant did not put additional windows on the south side as city requested, but they fully met the front window requirement. And that was a request, not a demand. There's nothing in the code that requires them to put stuff on the side. We had one comment from Commissioner Minister that this is an excellent company that she's used on a number of times, that the building has been vacant for a while for years due to fire damage, and that this would be an improvement for the neighbors. Part of the reason they need the parking variance, they're requesting the parking variance, is that the city asked them to move the existing parking, which would have been grandfathered in front of the building, to move it to the back and put green space in the front. And they would not have, as I understand it, they would not have needed a variance if they weren't going to add the green space to the community. This was recommended approval by a vote of 8-0-1 with Mike McLaughlin abstaining and not participating in the discussion. There were no additional comments from the committee members that they wanted to be part of the minutes. Commissioner White, you're muted.
Does that conclude your introduction, Chair Hardwick? You're muted.
Yes, thank you, Chair White. Yeah, I tried to push the space bar. It didn't work that time.
No, you're muted. Okay. Thank you so much. And I believe I see Jennifer LaPlante here as a presenter. Are you ready?
Sure. Actually, and Kelly Hartshorn, the business owner, is here too. Kelly, do you want to give a quick intro just on the business, and I can walk through the variance requests?
Sure.
Welcome, Kelly.
Hi. Thank you for having us. My name is Kelly Hartshorn, and I'm the owner of Staging Spaces Design, and we are a staging company here in Clintonville, and we also have an interior design aspect to our business. We've been in business for 6 years, and I've been a lifetime resident of Clintonville, and we live in Clintonville. We do a lot of our business in Clintonville and surrounding areas, so it's just the perfect location for us. We love being here, and we love helping, all of our neighbors get the best prices for their houses and make sure that everything's looking gorgeous. So we're really excited to have this building. It will just help our business grow. We'll be able to house all of our inventory in the building, and then also be able to have our designers upstairs on the second floor and all work under one roof, being much more efficient and just more successful. So we are working with Jennifer and the Andrews Builders and Architects, and I feel that the building is going to be gorgeous, and just make that little corridor right there just north of Cook, in between Cook and Morris Road, look a little nicer. So
Great, and I'll jump in. I don't have a huge presentation. Thanks, Stephen, for presenting what we're looking for, and would request definitely let us know if you have any questions. But the 3 variances we're requesting are, we basically submitted our site compliance plan to the city of Columbus and weren't aware that we would need these variances, to be honest with you. The first one is a variance on the driveway width. The existing driveway from the existing building to the south property line is 12 feet. And we'd like to keep that because that's what's there. Kelly's is building onto the front of the building, and we'll need that, all the driveway she can get, which is only the 12 feet. So we are requesting to kind of continue what's there so she can access the back where the parking is. The second variance request is number of parking spaces. And the reason really for that is in talking and back and forth with the city on our site compliance plan before we came before the Clintonville Commission and the committee was to reduce the amount of parking in front. You know, that corridor sees a lot of parking right along Indianola, all the way in front of the buildings. And they thought that, I think we got within one space. I think we need 11.05 spaces or 12, and we could get to 11. And the direction from the planning staff at the city was we'd rather see a little bit more green. We'd rather you request that there were no spaces in front, and just, if it's okay with your business, to request the variance so that you only had parking in the back. So that's why you see that request. We've got 8 spaces in the back. And then the third variance is on the setback. And Stephen's right. So we've gone a couple of rounds with the city on additional right of way that they want. We actually meet the 25 feet from the existing right of way. After a first submittal, they asked for additional right of way. We thought it was 5 more feet. So we would have been down to 20-foot variance, but actually they are requesting 10 feet on our side because the subdivision on the other side has given 10 feet back in the day. Existing right of way is 60. They want to be 80. And they've already given 10 feet on their side. We need to give 10 feet on our side. So that takes us down to the setback of 15 feet. But basically that takes us right to where Kelly thinks she needs that addition to service the business. And we'll still have grass in there. We have a sidewalk connecting from her door to the public sidewalk in our driveway right there. But the rest of it will have a tree, I think 2 trees, and some grass space there. So that's the reason for the third variance request. I've got the plan open here in front of me. If anyone has any questions, we're really just here to help answer questions and what might help move this case forward.
Yeah, could you share your screen and show us your plan and walk us through it?
Let me know when you guys can see that. Okay.
Okay, we're good, Jennifer.
Okay, thank you. It's a little busy, so I do apologize for that. And hopefully I can open, I don't have the elevations open, but I can open those. I think those should have been with the report. Hopefully you guys have seen the more pretty pictures of the building. I can find those if you'd like to see them. So Indianola is over here to our left. It says 70-foot right of way. Basically, we're required to have a 20-foot driveway at the right of way line, the new right of way line. So that takes us to a 20-foot driveway here, and then we taper that back to the 12 feet. So there's a 12-foot driveway along the south. The existing building is here in dash, the square you see right here. The addition is basically doubling the size to the front. So the existing building's back here. She's basically doubling the size, just under doubling it to the front, with an entryway and stairs and a sidewalk out to the front sidewalk. A couple trees. There'll be grass area here and grass between the sidewalk and the driveway. We also are required to add a bike rack out here in front. So that's what you see here. And in the back, we have our 8 spaces, which is our handicap ADA here right behind the building. We've got a ramp that's there for her, to unload her furniture that she uses staging. And then we've got our 6 parking spaces here in the back. That's kind of the simple version. So happy to zoom in and answer questions. This is a little bit of a busy plan.
If I could start it off, I wanted to just share a few comments really quickly. I discussed the project with District 8, which is from about Morse Road down to Wetmore, Garden. And the community for the most part had supported the proposal, as is. They're aware of all the variance requests and everything else. I wanted to share a couple comments. People are pretty positive about the business coming and the topic of the business. There was also a lot of support for changing the sea of asphalt that's in front of the building now to something that's more attractive with green space. So there was a mix between some local businesses as well as local residents that supported it. And then the last thing was, one person had asked if there was a way to kind of get some buy-in from the applicant to install Ohio native species trees as the shade trees. And I know that we discuss this every once in a while, and not necessarily something that's enforceable per se, but something that the residents seem like they are passionate about.
I don't think there's any problem with that. I'll let Kelly speak up if she has a problem, but I don't see a problem with that in that stipulation. I mean, we basically would, our landscape architects would pick trees off the Columbus approved list, but I don't think we have a problem with native species. That's, I think, what we
Yeah.
would recommend anyway.
Right. No, I don't have a problem with that either. And I just, again, want it to fit well within the community and the aesthetics of the building, and the exterior is on, the top priority list. So yeah, we would be open to that. And also, of course, making sure that they are able to stay alive along Indianola right there, because it is a busy street and a lot of, congestion right there. But yeah, we definitely are open to that.
Thanks.
Yeah, I think it's an overwhelmingly positive thing that this begins to erode that ocean of asphalt that's along Indianola. So this is just a welcome addition, and a great business. We're glad you're expanding and taking a bigger stake in the neighborhood. That's great. But you're doing a great service to Indianola by helping to chip away at that asphalt that defines it so much.
Thank you.
All right, I don't have everybody within eye shot, but are there any other questions for Jennifer or Kelly? Go ahead and speak up, because I can hear you, but I can't see you all. Okay, well, if that concludes the question and answer to our presenters, do we have a motion to vote for these variances? Do we want to vote for all three in one fell swoop, or do we want to split the vote?
Make a motion to vote for all three.
Okay.
Second.
All right, so that was Commissioner Wyman who voted, who made a motion, and who seconded? Commissioner Garrison?
Yes.
Okay, all right. Just wanted to make sure to get that on Secretary. Okay. All right, we will execute our vote now to decrease the minimum driveway from 20 feet to 12 feet, decrease the required parking spaces from 12 to 8, and reduce the minimum setback from Indianola 25 to 15 feet. We'll go ahead and call roll. District 1.
Yes.
District 2.
Yes.
District 3.
Yes.
District 4.
Yes.
District 5.
Yes.
District 6, Commissioner Carpenter is absent. District 7.
Yes.
District 8.
Yes.
And District 9 shall vote yes as well. Thank you. Congratulations, Kelly. Thank you, Jennifer, for your hard work. And we'll look forward to seeing this project come to fruition.
Wonderful.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you so much, everyone. We appreciate it.
All right, and Secretary Bolton will prepare the standard recommendation form and have this back to the city no later than Monday at noon.
Great.
Thank you
Wonderful.
all.
Thank you. Okay, we're running about 15 minutes behind. So let's go ahead and we'll give the floor to Chair Heckner with our election committee.
We're good now?
Yes, you're good now.
Okay. Two things I need from the commission. One is a vote on the rules, and we've kind of worked on this for the last couple meetings, so I don't think there's any surprises in there. But those went out a couple days ago. And make sure that we are all on the same page on the budget. And right after the meeting last time, I did go back and look at the number of people who voted, and hopefully everyone got a copy of that survey. I'm not sure what that shows us as far as what we're going to get this year. It really depends on how many districts are contested and how vigorously they're contested. So we need, a budget for stamps, and it may be 5 stamps and it may be 50 stamps, and who knows? So sorry there wasn't a trend line there, but there isn't particularly. So I would ask for a budget of $33.50 for the post office box and an undetermined amount for stamps. Everything else is going to be donated. A lot of it, Commissioner White has the tents, and she said she had some envelopes. And so I think it's going to be a fairly low budget operation unless there's a lot of stamps. And the rules, the big changes in the rules are that the only support the library can give us is handing out the candidate package. They cannot even take them back in because they would have to quarantine them for 4 days. So anyway, so they will hand them out. And after that, my plan is to get everyone's name and get their email address and do it kind of like we did last spring. It was kind of like the only way we could do it was I kept shooting out emails saying, if you want to hand this in, make an appointment with me and I'll be here and bring it to my house. So I think we're going to be doing a little bit of that, or, I will meet you at the library door at 4 o'clock. I think that's kind of what we're going to be doing again this year. So I'll just have the list of people who are going out and getting signatures, and that way we can all kind of keep in contact with each other. There's 25 signatures instead of 50. If it's only a write-in candidate, it can be 15 signatures. If somebody turns in a packet and then you want to be a write-in candidate, then you still have to have the 25. And the voters requesting a mail-in ballot do not have to include the self-addressed stamped envelope, which will get rid of that whole stack of people who wanted to vote and didn't vote because they didn't have the self-addressed stamped envelope in there. So that is my recommendation, and I don't think there's much new there, but that's the recommendation.
Okay. I did post a copy of the draft of the election rules onto the email where you receive the agenda and all supporting documentation. I also attached it to the CAC meeting calendar event in the CAC website calendar. Does anybody need to review the election rules right now? Because I can screen share them if you wish.
Yeah, Commissioner, could you do that? Because all I see is a timeline.
Okay. It's attached to the CAC website calendar under details, and it was also sent to your email with supporting documentation, and I'll go ahead and I'll share that with you for your review right now. Okay. Can you all see that?
Not yet.
Can you see it now?
Yes, we can see it.
That's,
Okay.
That's the media advisory.
That's the media advisory.
Yeah, I saw the media advisory and I saw a timeline, but I haven't seen the rules.
Oh, I'm sorry. Hold on. Yeah, I put up the wrong document. Sorry about that. Let's see the action timeline. There it is. Okay. Sorry about that, guys. And there we go. Okay. And I'll make sure to resend this to everybody just to make sure that you have it. I believe that the only changes The only changes to this, and correct me if I'm wrong, Chair Heckner, are the changes that you specified in January's meeting that you just highlighted and reviewed here this evening. And it basically takes on the templates of the election rules of the past. Is that correct?
I think that's correct, yes.
Okay.
It ended up being kind of a messy document because, you know, a lot of the, this will happen here and this will happen at the library and this will happen, all that had to be changed. And it's really one concept, but it ended up being a lot of changes in the verbiage.
Now, the one thing that I do believe is incomplete in all of your CAC election kickoff documents is that we don't yet have the CAC election post office box yet.
Right.
So where it might reference post office box, we don't yet have a number to fill in there. But when you get the post office box here in about another week and a half, we should be able to fill that in with the post office box.
Right.
Okay, I'm going to go ahead. Just to make sure everybody has this. I'm going to make sure that everybody's received a copy of it.
We don't have a number for the box yet. I like to wait as long as I can, because if we have the box exactly 3 months and not 3 months and 1 day, we can get half of our money back. So heaven knows we want our $33.50 back.
Right.
So
that would make Kendra very happy.
I pushed that pretty close to the end of, you know, right before we put the candidate packets out. I need that number. And so I'll go in there in mid to late February and get it.
Okay, so that's all been reshared with you. Can you just highlight with me, take me with just the changes from the past election rules that we voted on? Can you just go through this document with me, Chair Heckner, and make sure that we highlight what's changed?
Oh, really?
Help expedite review.
I don't think there's anything there.
Okay, so there were notes, there were minutes in January's and Secretary Bolton's minutes that highlighted the changes in January's minutes. Did everybody review the minutes with Chair Heckner's highlighted changes?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So this was part of a discussion in January's meeting. We'll just go ahead and take a moment here to review. Everybody should have them in their email inbox.
Well, when it says, you know, the XY, something needs to be handed into the library, that's all changed. And I've kind of made where things happen a little bit vague, or I just don't say where it's going to happen. And it may happen in, you know, my front yard. It may happen over in the parking lot of the library. We did get permission to do the tents at the library. So instead of being inside the building, we're going to be probably on the north side of the parking lot.
which by that time you'll be communicating with each candidate individually.
Right. As soon as they, yeah, I am asking that as soon as they start collecting signatures, it's part of that front page that's on the candidate package, and it says, give your email address to the chair of the committee. And
Right.
that's where we're going to have to start, you know, if it's a rainy day, maybe we don't want to meet in the parking lot, you know?
Right, right.
Maybe you want to just buzz some document by my house and drop it off here. That's fine. We'll just work it out.
I mean, so like the big points, like the polling procedures are the same, only instead of inside 4 walls of the library, it's going to be outside of the library under a canopy.
Probably, yeah.
And, you know, the same protocol as before, fewer signatures, 25 instead of 50.
Mm-hmm.
The write-in candidate, any changes with regard to the write-in candidate?
They would only need 15 signatures if no one put in a regular petition for that district.
Okay.
Chair White, this is Brittany. I did just pull up the minutes from last month to double check if that helps with this process. One thing I note that I think might be in this section, I'm just struggling to find it. There was a mention of a potential drop box inside the library, just related to the code.
Library said nope.
Okay, so no drop box. No, that's fine. I just want to make sure I'll put that in these minutes so that it's clear that it's mail-in or in person at the canopy and not in a drop box. I'll just make sure that's clear for this month then. Thank you.
Yeah, that's kind of back to the way we were doing it before. Once again, if there was a Dropbox there, everything would have to be quarantined for 4 days before we could get it. And so it's like, no, not working.
No,
So,
absolutely not.
So would-be candidates can still pick up those forms at the library.
Yeah,
and they can also download them from the website.
The ballot request forms, yeah, they can get off the website.
Okay. And so far as the candidate orientation meeting, that will be done at the CAC Zoom meeting lounge, right?
Right.
Okay. So basically it's the same run as before, only it's COVID compliant. And we've just made a few minor adaptations to make it happen.
Oh, another adaptation is the you can do email signatures.
Yeah. That is, let's find where that is.
Yeah. That's not hopefully I got the changes in there for that one.
Candidate nomination, here it is. Let's see. Residents.
I don't remember making that change. That's a good catch.
No, it's there, number 6.
Okay.
Oh, there we go. In lieu, yeah, here we go. Good catch, Libby.
Oh, good catch. Thank you, Libby. I must have done that quite a while back.
Yeah.
Okay.
Basically, I took the stuff off of the form where the signatures are. Up at the top, it says, this is all information is correct, blah, blah, blah. And so all I'm doing is kind of copying what you would be signing off on that form, what the neighbors would be signing off on the petition. And then you have to put the same information in the email, send the email. All of that will be public. And if somebody thinks that isn't right, they can challenge that signature.
Okay. Okay.
Can we go over the results in the certification? How does the certification work? It's in the bottom, like the last page. What is that, a 9? Roman numeral 9?
Okay. Am I there?
And how does certification work? Yeah.
Page 9. Okay, this is
Page 9 or
it's
Roman
11, section 9.
Roman numeral 9.
Yeah.
Okay, let me get it up here where I can read it. 9, page 18.
Because it's a little vague.
5, 6, 7, 9. Committee shall informally notify the candidates of the uncertified election results within 24 hours of the close of polls. We actually do, we count the votes right at 2 o'clock, right after the polls close. And so we will know that afternoon, most probably, what the uncertified results are.
How does it get to the point of certification?
That's during a meeting of CAC, the June meeting, correct?
The committee certifies the results to you. So I think we
Yeah.
basically certify that afternoon.
But then you report it at the June meeting.
Yes, but we certify it.
Absolutely.
And then if there are any complaints against the process, those go to the commission. The committee has a first shot at, explaining what we did and why. And then if there's still a problem with that and the candidate is not satisfied with that answer, then that goes to the commission to review.
Here's how I understand it, and I think this might be what Commissioner Wyman is asking. I'm just going to take a stab at it. They're unofficial. The committee counts. Anybody can be there to witness the count, and it's unofficial until the deadline is passed for any challenges. Then it becomes official and is presented to the CAC at the June meeting.
No, because that first sentence says the CAC chairman, I have to notify the candidates of the uncertified results within 24 hours of the close of polls.
Right, and those are uncertified.
Right.
I don't think it's certified until the commission certifies it.
That's how I understand it. And they're not going to be certified until after the deadline has passed for anybody to challenge the uncertified votes.
So
Well,
we
see,
need to,
okay, but now
we
look
need to
at-
change the
look at
first
number
line in
9.
8 then?
Look at 9B. Before the committee certifies the election results, so that is saying that the committee certifies the election results.
Right.
So we disqualify people who are ineligible for whatever reason. Oh, I know. Remember the year that a year or two ago, one of the races first originally was contested, and then the contestant dropped out, but she still got some votes. So our uncertified results would have both candidates' votes in it. The certified results would only show the one candidate because the other candidate had dropped out.
I'd like to see the bylaws and what it says about the commission voting on it.
Okay. It's going to take me a while to dig that out, but I can.
I know, and I don't have my notebook with me. It's downstairs, or otherwise I would be looking at it. And I can't.
I've got
it. My screen because BJ has it.
I haven't changed that last section.
No, I know.
So I'm just not that familiar with it.
It's just that one little word, certification. Yes.
Can you see it?
Well, not that fast.
Hold on. The elections should have been on page 11.
Okay. Oh, that's 10.
Let's see. Elections, section 8, page 11.
Okay. I think okay. 6. 7. Keep going.
There we go.
Page numbers are off. I guess we're gonna have to change that. Election results. The election number 4 there, D4. The election committee shall certify the election results, including the votes, in writing to the chair commission. The commission chairperson shall on behalf of the commission certify the elected candidates within 40 days. All right, it doesn't really say that we have to vote on it. Wait, let's go down a little bit. Okay.
And then the candidate becomes official as an appointee by the mayor's office,
Right.
which usually happens in that 30-day period between the election and their July 1 term.
Right. Hopefully.
Hopefully.
So it looks like we don't even really vote on it as a commission.
No, just appeals, I think.
Right,
Yeah.
only if there's
Okay.
complaints.
Does that help to review that, Commissioner Wyman? Does that help resolve your uncertainty?
Yes, exactly. So what'll happen is, so does that last on their rules need to reflect it? It's the commission chairperson that certifies.
No, I think it
No.
says that the committee certifies it, and then our chair informs the
Mayor.
mayor.
Yeah.
Right.
So-
Commission chairperson shall, on behalf of
The only time the commission gets
certify
involved
the
is
elected.
if there's a complaint, if there's,
Right. We participate in resolving a dispute. That's all.
Yeah. All right. All right, does that make everything clear as mud for everybody? Okay, all right, is there a motion on the floor to vote to accept the election rules?
I would move that we accept the rules as presented by Chairperson Heckner.
Okay, is there a second? Is there a second?
Yes, Libby.
Okay, thank you. All right, we'll go ahead and begin roll. District 1,
Yes.
District 2,
Yes.
District 3,
Yes.
District 4,
Yes.
District 5,
Yes.
District 6,
Absent.
District 7,
Yes.
District 8,
Yes.
and District 9 shall vote yes. Thank you, Chair Heckner, for your hard work. I know that adapting to COVID protocol has not been easy for you, but we appreciate you and your committee's hard work.
Thank you.
And we'll get this information disseminated. We'll work with Chair Hulbert of our Tech and PR Committee, and we'll start making the election rules and timeline possible so that we can get any interested parties out there ready to run. Thanks, Ann. Okay, we'll go ahead and hand this over to Catherine Cole, our neighborhood community liaison.
Chair White, I'm going to request, Justin is crunched on time. Could he present next? And I can go at the end. I'm flexible. I'll be here the whole time, so I can present whenever. But if we could have Justin present, because I know that he has to leave shortly.
Okay, Justin Goodwin.
Thank you very much, Catherine. I really appreciate that. Good to see all of you. Chair White, thanks for giving me a little bit of time on your agenda this evening. I'm Justin Goodwin, Transportation Planning Manager with the City of Columbus, Department of Public Service. You may recall, joined you a few months back to give you an update on our Link Us initiative and the Northwest Corridor mobility project specifically. I'm not going to take much of your time here. I know you're all crunched on time, and I won't share slides with you, but if you don't mind, I will share my screen. I just want to orient you all to our website at linkuscolumbus.com. And specifically, I wanted to inform all of you of our current public engagement opportunities for the Link Us initiative and for the Northwest Corridor specifically. I hope that all of you were able to take part in our online survey in the fall. I know a couple of you, Chair White, and a couple of others were able to take part in our focus groups that we did back in the fall for the Northwest Corridor. We've engaged nearly 800 people in that first round of engagement. We now have a report summarizing all of the engagement that we've heard online that you can get at our website. And really pleased to report there's a lot of excitement around this. Again, Link Us is a collaborative initiative, a partnership between the City of Columbus, the Mid-Ohio Regional Planning Commission, the Central Ohio Transit Authority, of course, and Franklin County, among other partners. And this is an implementation initiative aimed at bringing a new level of transportation infrastructure investment to our city and to our region, specifically with a focus on high capacity rapid transit in growth corridors within the city and throughout Central Ohio. Building on Morpsey's corridor concept study that was unveiled a couple of years ago, and a lot of other planning work that the region's been undertaking over the number of years here. And you may recall in Tony Celebrezzi's presentation earlier, he noted Link Us as one of the aligned initiatives. There are a number of really important initiatives that the city and our partners are undertaking here around envisioning how we're going to grow over the next 20 to 30 years, and these changing trends in growth, and how we as a region are going to accommodate the growth to becoming a region of 3 million people by 2050. And those changes in growth patterns that Tony and Kevin Wheeler are dealing with the zoning code update, we have to make sure that we're accommodating the changes in our mobility and our transportation needs to couple sustainable outcomes with that new growth. So that's what this initiative is about. It's making sure that we're thinking ahead. We're accommodating the travel options that our community needs as we grow, that we're getting ahead of traffic congestion. We're starting to see it. It's not as bad as other major cities, but we want to get ahead of it, and that's why we want to invest in new rapid transit improvements. And it's not just about transit; it's about walkable communities. Again, the zoning code work is about walkable development. We want to make sure our streets are walkable, and that people can actually use the transit that we're envisioning. Bikeable as well, and we've heard a lot of interest in improved connections specifically to our trail system, the Olentangy Trail, of course, in the Northwest Corridor, and of course the GAP project that many of you have been paying attention to. That's an aligned project with the Northwest Corridor, and so we're really excited about this initiative. Right now, we have an online open house. We're getting creative with COVID. And we have a lot of information that you can go to linkuscolumbus.com right now. And instead of being able to gather in a meeting room and see poster boards of all of our plans and maps and images, you can see all of that on your own time on the website. So please go to linkuscolumbus.com. You can check into the open house. Review the materials, the alternatives for rapid transit improvements and other mobility improvements in the Northwest Corridor specifically. Answer a few survey questions. It won't take long. And also we have 2 virtual public meetings, 2 webinar sessions with a live Q&A next Wednesday, February 10th. You can RSVP for either of those. It's the same session, just a couple of different time options next week. So please hope that you can attend one of those, and please help us get the word out, promote that. Chair White, just a little bit ago, I sent you an email with more information. I didn't get you that quick enough to get it into your agenda document, but if you're able to get that on your website, send it out to your networks. Would really appreciate that. We want to hear from everybody that we can. We're really excited about this initiative. And also, I'll note you'll see some information coming out and on the website now about our east-west corridor. So looking at West Broad Street and East Main Street and East Broad Street in downtown, linking together with the Northwest corridor as part of this vision of a large interconnected rapid transit system. So I don't want to take more of your time here. Happy to answer any questions. I know you have a few other things to get through. So I'll stop sharing. And if you have any questions, let me know. But again, go to linkascolumbus.com and I'll put it in the chat as well.
Justin, if I could just ask a question, I'm seeing RSVP for 2 meetings, one at noon, one at 6. Is that right, on the 10th?
Yeah, and those are it's the same exact session, so you only need to attend one. It's just giving people a couple of different time options.
Thanks.
All right, I have forwarded your information to everybody and to Chair Holbert already to get on our socials and our website. Thank you so much, Justin. I always appreciate you.
Have a good evening. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you. You as well. Thanks for coming. Okay, next on the agenda, we'll go ahead and circle back to, let's go ahead and, do we have Patty Huddle with us?
Yes, I am here.
Hi, Patty. Thank you for being here.
Sure.
Have you prepared 5 to 10 minutes to discuss with us your topic that we wanted you here for?
I have, and I'm going to try to share my screen.
Please join me in welcoming Patty Huddle, who's with the Columbus-Franklin County Finance Authority, and she's here to discuss small business and neighborhood improvement loans. I have included her email and her telephone number if anybody's interested in following up.
Thank you. Sorry, I'm digging for my share screen.
Can you figure it out?
I am struggling to find it.
Okay, go down the bottom where it says share screen.
Well, that's the part I don't see.
Okay, what happens if you...
Okay, got it. Sorry, I was trying to... There we go. Well, I am really sorry. I'm having technical difficulties, so we'll forego the deck so that I can just give you verbally some of the information I was going to share. And thank you, Madam Chair and Commissioners, for allowing me to join you tonight. Just want to make sure you can hear me, although you can't see me. Okay, great. So I'm with the Columbus-Franklin County Finance Authority. We were founded back in '06 by Franklin County and the City of Columbus, with the goal of providing another form of financing for development in the City of Columbus and Franklin County. And historically, our focus and financing really has been in large, might have played a role with finding the infrastructure or financing public parking garages. We've done many of the very large scale projects in downtown Columbus that you see, Granville Yard. And we've been fairly successful with it and pretty quietly. But a couple years ago, our board and our leadership wanted to change that direction a little bit and try to figure out a way that we could have greater reach and impact really at the neighborhood level and at the small business level. And so last year we created a program, we call it the Neighborhood Improvement and Small Business Loan, and it is available to small businesses. It's a 2.5% interest rate. The term is 15 years or less, not to exceed the life of the asset. And it is for fixed asset. We don't have the ability to offer working capital right now. So my goal in reaching out to the neighborhood liaisons was just to ask if they could help create awareness. And I was made aware of this meeting and invited to share the info with you. Thanks for pulling that up. So I've got my information in this deck, if that can be shared. I also wanted to mention, while I have you, there's another financing program called the Property Assessed Clean Energy Financing Program that is enabled in the city of Columbus and a number of the other Franklin County suburbs. It provides for financing for energy efficiency improvements, which encompasses many, many things, especially in a community like Clintonville, where I lived for many years and loved. Oftentimes when you're making renovations and upgrades, it would be in systems like HVAC, roofing, building envelope, and most of those would qualify for this type of financing. And the benefit of the financing is that it's off balance sheet, and the repayment is made through a special assessment on the property. So it's a circumstance where the efficiencies that you accomplish and the lower cost of operating may actually offset the annual special assessments that you pay with your property taxes. So wanted to be really quick, and I know that was super speedy, but am happy to chat with anybody about these programs. I was just thinking the Staging Spaces business would have been a perfect candidate for probably either one of these types of financing. So if I can be a resource, if we can be a resource, we'd love to help.
Okay, well, thank you so much, Patty, and I appreciate the expedited version of that, and I appreciate you coming here. How about everybody has received a copy of your PowerPoint presentation for review. Your contact information is on it. We have a defunct Clintonville Chamber of Commerce that is not very active right now. So if any of our business partners or anybody you know that you think might be able to benefit from this program, please, please, please redirect them to Patty.
Thank you so much.
All right, thank you, thank you. Okay, let's see, we've got, we're gonna go ahead and go to Catherine. Are you there still?
Still here.
All right, let's have at it.
Good evening, everyone. I'm going to share my screen. So the website that houses all of the area commission information is now live. And I want to thank Brittany and Brian for agreeing to be tech support on this. So I've pulled up Clintonville, and it has the map, it has meeting details, a link to your website, commissioner contact information, commissioner district map. So this has been really a great opportunity when we partnered with Neighborhood Design to be able to give each area commission in the city the opportunity to have a website if they did not have it. And it gives the sitting community a great way of finding each and every area commissioner in kind of a one-stop shop. So as the city, we are requesting, Brittany and Brian, that you guys just kind of continue to update this website as needed. If you could attach, the only thing I couldn't find on here that is needed is the bylaws. So if one of you guys could attach the bylaws to that, that would be great. I'm going to stop sharing my screen now. And BJ also me and BJ had a phone meeting the other day. This came up at another area commission. So we want to just remind all subcommittee minutes for those meetings, archive them over the Northwest Corridor Plan.
I'm sorry, Catherine, you froze up.
Finally,
hold on, Catherine, you froze up.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you. It's just that your video and audio froze up for a quick bit. Go back and recap that.
Sorry. Just a reminder, this came up in another area commission meeting, and the city attorney advised that all subcommittee meetings must keep minutes during those meetings. They must be archived somewhere and saved for up to 4 years. BJ, I thank you for sending out that email earlier this week to remind all subcommittee chairs about that reminder. And finally, last week, the city of Columbus was able to designate $26.8 million in federal funding designated for rent and utility assistance. One of the main nonprofits that will be distributing this money will be Impact. The other will be Celebrate One, which helps house new and expecting moms. And they are also looking for additional nonprofits that can work to disseminate this emergency rental assistance. Those are all of the announcements I have. I'd be happy to take any commissioner community questions.
Clintonville Resource Community Center would be a good one for disseminating rent.
Yeah, absolutely. That's what I was going to suggest. If you haven't already talked to them, they would be a great clearinghouse for that, and would be a very good partner in that.
Thank you.
Okay, all right. Then lastly, let's go ahead and let's delve into the urban deer discussion. Commissioner Weatherholt and myself attended the Ohio Community Wildlife Cooperative Conference on November 19th. And it was one of the focus points of that meeting discussed thinning the herd and what
BJ, I really want to stop you on that. That is not, from my viewpoint, that was not the big part about it. And people are getting very upset, which is why I wanted to have more of a discussion than just a dissemination. I really want, for me, the main part of it was maintaining the health of the herd and making sure that ecologically speaking, it was good. Thinning the herd was a very small part. And for most of the things that I saw, thinning the herd was not a viable it was not a very good solution. And I really don't think we have enough time to spend on this tonight.
Well, let me just back up a little bit. So one of the things that they talked about at great lengths was they cited an example of the city of Ann Arbor, who.
But there was so much more.
I'll call on you when I'm ready.
But you've had a lot of time in several other meetings where you've discussed it, and I've not had time. And I want to just make sure, because very few people in my district want any kind of deer culling at all. We just want to make sure that the deer are healthy and that ecologically speaking, there is enough food for them. And I think maintaining some sort of health orientation to the herd, some way of doing things to see that the herd are healthy is where we need to go. I do not want anyone to be talking about culling the herd, frankly. And I was at the Ann Arbor one and the New Albany one. There were several on hunting, but none of them convinced me that culling the herd was of any use in the long run. And that's why I asked that we just not speak of it tonight.
Okay, but it is on the agenda, so.
And I asked that it be taken off. I sent you an email.
Yeah, I know, but that's after the agenda was already released.
Well, it was only 2 days ago you sent out the agenda.
That's all that's required.
No, I was asked to have it a week ahead of time, many times by you, in fact, when I was chair. So I just don't think it's worth talking about tonight.
Okay. We, just so everybody knows, this was on the agenda in December and January. We ran out of time. We decided to table the conversation until February. And that was at a courtesy of allowing Commissioner Weatherholt voice some of the concerns that she had by her district. So if nobody has, it is on the agenda. If there's anybody here who wishes to comment on the urban deer, please take this time to comment on it. If there's any members from the public that would like to comment on it, let me know.
Can I ask, so I do want to know what you both learned at the conference. So moving forward, are we considering tabling this for March's agenda then? Or how will we proceed? Because I would like to know.
I began adding this to the agenda in December and asked that Commissioner Weatherholt share what she learned, what her takeaways were in the November conference. And we ran out of time. Then it was added in January, and then we ran out of time, and then it was added for February's agenda. And now all of a sudden, we're not going to have that discussion.
Well, no. You spent a lot of time in January talking about what your district was all about. You spent a lot longer than a minute or two in your district report talking about how much your district didn't want anything to do with anything having to do with deer thinning. And then none of the rest of us had a chance. And now again, it's 9 o'clock. And I just don't think it's a good time to start a discussion. I would like to have some sort of a general discussion at maybe perhaps a non-CAC meeting, but you spent quite a while in the January meeting talking about your district. If you want me to talk, I can talk for quite a while about what I learned from it, and culling was not what I took away from it at all.
Okay. I gave a district report on a district meeting that I had where 1/3 of my district meeting talked about the deer.
And you've already discussed that, so we don't need to hear it again, okay? That was quite a long discussion that you spent, and you also spent an email with another constituent and made it very clear that Columbus doesn't want to do anything about deer, and so we aren't going to. And so, you've made it clear where you are, and I have not had a chance, but I don't think 9 o'clock is the time to be doing it. I will be happy to send out minutes of the notes I took, and I have those, but I'm not going to start the discussion about deer at 9 o'clock at night.
Okay, do we have a motion to adjourn?
I'll motion to adjourn.
Is there a second on the floor?
I just have one question. I want to make sure Sandra Lopez has a chance to maybe offer some remarks before we adjourn. I think she's been waiting, and I'd like to give her a chance.
Oh, thank you, Commissioner. I actually don't have much. I alternate between Clintonville and North Central on the first Thursday of the month, but wanted to say hi, hear what the concerns are. Council is back, and two of the major things that we are working on is housing legislative package reform. We've sent information out on that, and also the reimagining safety. We just completed the last hearing on reimagining safety, so it should be on the floor for discussion. As you know, council wants to find ways to improve safety for everyone, especially making sure that in situations where it's not necessary to send the police, that we have other resources like social workers and mental health support staff. So we've been listening from the community. We've had a series of conversations with surveys and opportunities for folks to give input. So we expect that it will pass here in the next few weeks. So stay tuned for that. And that's all I had, unless anyone had questions for me regarding
Thanks a lot. I appreciate the update. I'll go ahead and second Commissioner Pfeiffer's motion to adjourn.
All right, thank you so much. Thank you, everybody who attended this meeting this month, and we'll look forward to seeing everybody in March. Have a great February, everybody. Happy Valentine's Day.
You too.